What do you think? Is Hamas in violation of international law by holding, mistreating, torturing, and forcing Israeli hostages to appear in propaganda-style psychological warfare videos, even making them shave their beards to look just like terrorists? And if they are, why is no one talking about it? You know, the UN General Assembly has already passed a resolution calling for a humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza, but it really doesn't mean much because a UN General Assembly resolution is just a suggestion. However, the UN Security Council is currently trying to pass a similar resolution, which may actually be binding if it's passed and if Israel decides to obey the rules of the UN Security Council. Bottom line is the United Nations doesn't stipulate international law. It's just a body that makes up resolutions and sometimes even rules for its members, if its members want to obey them, to stay a member of the UN. All this and a whole lot more on today's show. I'm Luke Hilton, and this is the Israel Guys. Welcome to the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of Jew hatred and anti-Israel propaganda, you should have direct connection to the land and people of Israel. Guys, there's never a better time to go ahead and hit subscribe, whether you're listening on podcast platforms. A lot of people actually listening on podcast platforms, so give us a follow or subscribe there. You're watching on YouTube or Rumble or Twitter, actually X, or Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is, guys, go ahead and follow the Israel Guys, subscribe to the Israel Guys. 2023 is almost over, and we are planning to kick things up a notch for 2024. You guys don't want to miss out. You want to be along for the ride. Don't forget, it's all free. If you want to support the work of the Israel Guys, you can do so at theisraelguys.com. End of the year, great time for helping us make sure that we're even more effective in 2024 and that we can keep our content free. And we depend on the support of people all over the world, just like you. Drop me a comment if you're a new subscriber. Would love to hear from you. So, breaking news is that Hamas released a propaganda-style psychological warfare video, published it on Telegram, a Telegram channel yesterday, showing 3 older Israeli men who are being held hostage in Gaza. Now, I have to admit, I first saw these images last night when I was just kind of browsing the news and didn't have time to actually research. And I thought maybe this is fake because I saw 3 older men with gray hair and gray beards, but their beards were in the exact style as Hamas's leaders. So I thought, these can't be hostages, right? Because they look exactly like terrorists. I found out this morning, turns out that they actually are Jewish, Israeli, older men who are being held hostage inside Gaza. By the way, yesterday's video talking about the other three Israeli hostages who were unfortunately, sadly, shot by friendly fire, killed by friendly fire. What if Hamas forced them to look exactly like hostages as well? Do you see the type of battle that Israel is up against when they take 3 of their hostages and dress them just like Hamas members, make them even shave their beards just like Hamas members? You can see this picture. Put it up side by side with Hamas's leaders and see if you can tell the difference. But Amiram Cooper, Chaim Perry, and Yoram Metzger, nobody's heard from them since October 7th when they were taken into captivity. So this is the first indication that they are possibly still alive inside the Gaza Strip. Make no mistake, this is psychological warfare from Hamas. This is a type of torture for both the hostages and for their families and friends and the public inside Israel. And there's even speculation that what they said on camera was a script that was given to them by Hamas forcing them to say words like, quote, "We are the generation that built the country. We participated in building the army, and I don't understand why we are here. We don't need to be victims of Air Force bombings. You have to release us from here. It does not matter the cost. Don't let us grow old here." Hamas was even playing a Hebrew song in the background from Psalm 71, talking about "do not forsake me in my old age." So very likely Hamas forced them to say certain lines on camera to bend the perception of the Israeli public about what's actually happening with these hostages. Roni is the son of one of the hostages, Yoram Metzger, and he said in response to the video, quote, "It's difficult to see him now. He looks so much older. He's normally a smiling and healthy person who often talks and tells jokes. He looks very old, unkempt, and extremely thin." IDF spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari said this was atrocious terror. He went on to say, quote, "It shows the cruelty of Hamas against elderly civilians, innocents who require medical attention. The world must work to allow medical aid and to verify their conditions." Again, these are much older men who've been held in captivity for nearly 3 months. They undoubtedly need medical attention and other attention. Spokesman Daniel Hagari went on to say, Chaim, Yoram, and Amiram, I hope you can hear me this evening. You should know that we're doing everything to return you home safely. We will not rest until you return. So my question about this whole video and situation is, isn't this a violation of international law? Because if you're on social media or even mainstream media, you're consuming mainstream media, you've just heard nothing except how Israel is violating international law, right? Isn't Hamas even more so violating international law? Why is nobody talking about this? Why is nobody talking about I think it's 130 Israeli hostages that are still being held captive by Hamas? It's all about the humanitarian pause or ceasefire that we need so we can get food and water and fuel and medical supplies into Gaza. Well, guess what? That's already happening. Yes, absolutely happening. Hang on. We're going to talk about that. So I know it's getting kind of close to the holiday season, but if you're still looking for a gift for a family member or maybe a good friend, a Hebrew name certificate is a really amazing way to connect to the land of Israel, the Jewish people, and you get to find out what your name is in Hebrew, including its significance, the meaning behind the name, even has an accompanying verse. These beautiful certificates, I've actually had one before, have a wooden frame. You just click the link down in the description below. You put in their English name. You don't even have to know their Hebrew name. You put in your friend or family member's English name, pulls up their Hebrew name for you, pulls out the significance of their name, an accompanying verse from the Bible, its meaning, everything, and then prints it in this beautiful certificate with a beautiful wooden frame. You get it shipped straight to them, hang it on their wall, and now they're connected to the land of Israel, connected to the Jewish people, and you're supporting and standing with Israel, especially during this time right now. So let your gifts this holiday season carry a much deeper meaning. Connect your friends and family to the land of Israel, the Jewish people, and the significance of their name in Hebrew. Just click the link down in the description below to get started ordering your Hebrew name certificate today. So the United Nations General Assembly already passed a resolution calling for a humanitarian ceasefire between Gaza and Israel, right? But General Assembly resolutions are just like, they're like a way for the UN to slam countries, right? And that's it. It's like a recommendation or an opinion, almost like an op-ed by the UN saying, we think this, right? And if enough people vote on it, then they can say the majority, the UN actually thinks this. But they don't hold any weight. Now, the UN Security Council, on the other hand, can pass some binding resolutions, and that may be the situation now because the UAE has put forward a resolution in the Security Council. It was supposed to be voted on yesterday, Monday, December 18th. Now they've delayed it because nobody can agree on anything. There's a lot of debate. Possibly could be voted on today. Today's Tuesday, December 19th. By the time you watch this video, there could be an update on this. But the original resolution was meant to be about, quote, urgent and sustainable cessation of hostilities, to allow safe and unhindered humanitarian access to the Gaza Strip, right? Well, guess what? That's actually not true at all, and I'll tell you why. Gilad Erdan is Israel's ambassador to the United Nations. I want to play a clip of his speech because it's very, very fascinating.
So I must ask you today, what does this mean? What is a humanitarian ceasefire? Is it a ceasefire for 6 hours to allow food and water to enter Gaza? Clearly not, seeing as every single day Israel facilitates the entry of hundreds of tons of food and water. Is it a ceasefire for 3 days so that medical supplies and fuel can enter? The answer is also no, as truckloads of these supplies enter Gaza through Israeli facilitation every day. How about a week-long ceasefire to evacuate wounded civilians? No again. This is already happening on the ground, alongside field hospitals and floating hospital ships. Israel facilitates all these efforts. So I ask again, what is the meaning of this humanitarian ceasefire? There's no such a thing. This is one big lie, a whitewashing of the truth. A humanitarian ceasefire means a terrorist-saving ceasefire.
In Gilad Erdan's words, what actually is this resolution calling for a humanitarian ceasefire about? He says, is it about providing food or allowing food and water into Gaza during the ceasefire? Oh, wait, no, it can't be about that because Israel's already allowing hundreds of tons via trucks into Gaza every single day. Maybe it's about providing fuel or medical supplies into Gaza. Oh, no, that can't be true because Israel's allowing fuel and medical supplies into Gaza every day. Is it about evacuating wounded civilians out of Gaza? Nope, can't be about that because Israel's already doing that as well. So if the UN Security Council is calling for a humanitarian ceasefire and the things they're calling for are already happening under Israel's supervision, in Gilad Erdan's words, the only thing that this ceasefire or resolution can be about is actually a terrorist-saving ceasefire, meaning they just want Hamas to stop being pounded by Israel so that they can save their skin and have time to rearm and regroup and effectively be ready to attack and kill more Jews in the future. Question is, what happens if this UN Security Council resolution is actually voted on and passed? What happens then? Because it carries a lot more weight than the regular General Assembly. Now, does Israel have to abide by the resolution? Probably not. I mean, it's the UN and Israel's a member. I mean, they could just say we're not a member anymore, right? Just exit the UN. Could have farther reaching consequences, obviously. But UN General Assembly resolutions are not binding, and some UN Security Council resolutions are binding. But again, neither one of them stipulate or create international law. The UN is just a body of nations that came together to try and help the world, as terrible of a job as they're actually doing. So no, it's not international law. Go look it up. I just want to finish with a word about these statistics coming out of Gaza, because all over social media, all over the media, Israel's killed 20,000 civilians in Gaza, including thousands of women and children. Obviously not true, but I want to give some perspective on this. Now, Gaza claims Israel has killed 17,000 to 20,000 people. They would say civilians in Gaza, right? Israel says 7,000 of those are terrorists. I would say that's a low number. But Hillel Fold, who I follow on X, formerly Twitter, he's Ari Fold's brother, who is an amazing Israeli Orthodox Jew killed in Gush Etzion in a terrorist attack in 2018. He was a hero. His brother Ari Fold, I definitely recommend following him on Twitter or X. He put out some things that I want to read. He said, "For those claiming Israel killed thousands of kids, just please answer me one simple question. How many Hamas terrorists has Israel killed?" So the question is, these are questions for you. You can let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Does Hamas report the statistics on how many of its fighters are killed versus civilians? Or is there just one number? You tell me, is there statistics coming out of Gaza, the Hamas-controlled Gaza health ministry, right? Is there one number of terrorists or, militants killed versus civilians? Or is there just one number of people killed? How many Hamas terrorists has the IDF killed according to their own numbers? Well, according to Hillel Fold on Twitter, that number is 0 because Hamas just says 20,000 people killed or 20,000 civilians killed, right? Just to put this in perspective, if we were still in a global war on ISIS and ISIS reported the numbers of their people killed every day, would you believe them? Like, obviously not, right? Would the media believe them and report on them? Obviously not. That's ridiculous, right? So why are we just believing, without question at all, the numbers that Hamas is putting out every single day, especially when they don't differentiate at all between civilians and terrorists? They just say civilians, point blank, right? Hillel Fold said in the same post, if Israel is committing genocide for 75 years, then kindly explain to me how the Palestinian population has increased by 600% since 1948. And I think he went on to say, worst genocide ever. Just some food for thought. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Guys, don't forget to get your Hebrew name certificate. Perfect gift for a friend or family member this holiday season. Time's running out. Even if it has to be a New Year's gift for a friend or family member, your Hebrew name. You can put your English name in, get your Hebrew name on an amazing certificate with a wood frame. Don't forget to subscribe here on YouTube, hit that notification bell, and get the conversation going down below. As always, tune out the fake news and tune into what is actually happening here in the land of Israel. We're here every single day, Monday through Friday, with your direct connection to the land and people of Israel.